Hello, Mark. My name is Ting Zhen. My Chinese name is Zhuang Ting Zhen. My student number is 56. I am a sophomore. I major in English department. Michael Botticelli. Addiction is a disease. We should try it like one. 20 years ago, I was broken man, and you probably will be able to tell that if you met me. I have a good job at a well-respected academic institution. I dress well, of course, but my inside were rotting away. You see, I grew up in a family riddled with addiction, and as a kid, I also struggled with coming to terms with my own sexuality, and then enough, and and even though I couldn't land it then. Growing up as a gay kid just compounded my issue of isolation and insecurities. But drinking took all of that away. Like many, I drank at an early age. I continued to drink my way through college, and when I finally did come out in early 1980s, about the only places to meet other gay people, to socialize, to be yourself, were gay bars. And what do we do in gay bars? You drink, and I did a lot. My story is not unique. Like millions of Americans, my disease process undiagnosed. It took me to people and places and the things that I never would have chosen. It wasn't until an intersection with the road gave me an opportunity to get care that I began my journey of recovery. My journey of recovery has been filled with love and with joy, but it hasn't been without pain. Like many of you, I've lost too many friends and family to this disease. I hear too many heartbreaking stories of people who lose loved ones to addiction, and I've also lost countless friends to HIV and AIDS. Our current opioid epidemic and the AIDS epidemic tragically have much in common. Right now, we are in the midst of one of the greatest health crises of our time. During 2014 alone, 28,000 people died of drug over, overdose associated with prescription drug and heroin. During the 1980s, scores of people would die from HIV and AIDS. Public officials ignored it. Some wouldn't even utter the word. They don't want treatment. And tragically, there are many parallels with our current epidemic. Some call it the gay plague. They call it quarantine. We wanted to separate the illness mutant from the rest of us. I was afraid we were losing the battle because people would blame us for being sick. Public policy were being held hostage by stigmas and fear, and also held hostage with compassion, care, research, recovery, and treatment. But we changed all that because out of the pain of those days, we saw a social and political movement. Artists galvanized us into action, to stand up, to speak out, and to act out. And it also galvanized the LGBT movement. We know we were in a battle for our lives because silence equals this. But we changed, and we made things happen. And right now, we have the potential to see the end of HIV AIDS in our lifetime. These changes came in no small part for courageous, yet simple decision for people to come out to their neighbor, to their friend. to their family and to their co-workers. Years ago, I was a volunteer for the NAN project. There was an effort started by Clive Jones in San Francisco to show that people who died of AIDS have NAN and faces and family and people who love them. I still recall unfolding the AIDS Memorial cried on the National Mall on a brilliant day in October 1988. So fast forward to 2015, the Supreme Court's decision to strike down the ban on the same-sex marriage. My husband Dave and I walked over the steps of the Supreme Court to celebrate the decision with so many other people, and I couldn't help but think of how far we came around LGBT rights, and yet how far we needed to go around the issue of addiction. When I was nominated by President Obama to be his director of drug policy, I was very open about my recovery and about the fact I was a gay man. And at no point during my confirmation process, at least that I know of, did the fact that I was a gay man come to bear on my candidacy or my fitness to do this job. But my addiction did. At one point, a congressional staffer said that there was no way that I was going to be conferred by the United States Senate because of my pace, despite the fact that I have been in recovery for over 20 years, and despite the fact that this job takes a little bit of knowledge around addiction. Laughter. So this is the stigmas that people with substance with disorder face every single day, and I have to tell you, it's still why I'm more comfortable coming out as a gay man than I am as a person with a history of addiction. Nearly every family in America is affected by addiction, yet unfortunately, too often it's not talked about openly and honestly. It's whispered about, it's met with derision and scorn. I hear these stories time and time again on TV online. I hear it from public officials, and we hear it from family and friends, and lots of us with an addiction. We hear those voices, and and somehow we believe that we are less deserving of care and treatment. Today in the United States, only 1 in 9 people get care and treatment for their disorder. 1 in 9. Think about that. Generally, people with other disease get care and treatment. If you have cancer, you get treatment. If you have diabetes, you get treatment. If you have a heart attack, you get emergency service, and you get referred to care. But somehow people with addiction have to wait for treatment, or often can get when they need it. And left untreated, addiction has significant dire consequences, and for many people that means death and incarceration. We've been down that road before. Far too long our country feel like we could arrest our way of this problem, but we know that we can't. Decades of scientific research have shown that this is a medical issue, that this is a chronic medical condition that people inherit and that people develop. So the Obama administration has taken a different take on the drug policy. We have developed and implemented a comprehensive plan to expand prevention services, treatment services, early intervention, and Recovery report, we have pushed criminal justice reform. We have knocked down barriers to give people second chances. With the public health and the public safety officials working hand in hand at the community level. We see policy chaff across the country guiding people to treatment instead of jail and incarceration. We see law enforcement and other first responders revising overdose with actions to give people a second chance for care. And the Affordable Care Act is the biggest expansion of substance use disorder treatment in a generation. And it also calls for the integration of treatment service within primary care. But fundamentally, all of this work is not enough unless we change the way that we view people with addiction in the United States. Years ago, when I finally understood that I have a problem and I knew that I need help, I was too afraid to ask for it. Fear that people would think I was stupid and I was weak-willed, that I was morally flawed. But I talk about my recovery because I want to make change. I want us to see that we need to be open and candid about who we are and what we can do. I am public about my own recovery, not to be self-congratulatory. I'm open about my own recovery to change the public opinion, to change the public policy, and to change the course of this epidemic and empower the millions of Americans who struggle with this journey to be open and candid about who they are. People are more than their disease, and all of us have the opportunity to change public opinion and to change public policy. All of us know someone who has addiction, and all of us can do our part to change how we view people with addiction in the United States. So when you see someone with an addiction, don't say of a drunk or a junkie or an addict or an abuser. See a person, offer them help, give them kindness and compassion, and together we can be part of a growing movement in the United States to change how we view people with addiction. Together we change public policy. We can ensure that people get care when they need it. Just like any other disease, we can be part of a growing, unstoppable movement to help millions of Americans enter recovery and put an end to this epidemic. Thank you very much. Approach.